but so proudly we hailed. And the twilight lies gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, just that star-spangled banner, yeah, wave o'er the land under the fray, and the home of the brave.
Don't be afraid, this is a low fat, and you are listening to HonestAnswerRadio.com. Now, where is the egg roll you guys promised me?
The views and opinions expressed on the Honest Answer Radio show are the opinions of Honest Answer Media and no one else. If you're hearing a syndicated broadcast of this show, don't hold it against the broadcaster. Rather, congratulate them on their openness, tolerance, and respect for the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. Thank you very much.
I thank God for my life, and for the stars and stripes. May freedom forever fly. Let it ring. Salute the ones who died, the ones that give their lives so we don't have to sacrifice all the things we love. A little chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio up. I like to see sunrise, see the love in my woman's eyes, feel the touch of my precious child, and know a mother's love.
If you think freedom is free, you better think again. So, get on the bus, ladies. Lock and load.
Yeah, welcome. One more time to Honest Answer Radio here on HonestAnswerRadio.com, where we're kicking the mainstream media in the teeth every chance we get. We're going to do a little bit of kicking tonight. If this is your first time listening to us, I'm going to be the Marty half of your dynamic host and duo this fine Thursday evening.
And on this Thursday edition of Honest Answer Radio, I will be the Casey half of this shindig. Well, yesterday was almost quiet. Congress is in recess.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there wasn't as many people from Congress, although there were a few. There wasn't as much newsworthy stuff coming out of the mouths of Congress. But, you know, everybody else seemed to be flapping their soup coolers.
Yeah. You know, there was a big write-up this morning that a clean debt ceiling bill got passed through the Senate.
I'm sorry. That bill was dirty.
Yeah, it was very crafty the way they got that through, and we'll be talking about that. Harry Reid seems to approve and seems to think that now the Republicans are finally gaining some sense of sensibility about them, because they're willing to compromise on important issues.
On
like
their principles.
Yeah, on paying our nation's debts. But we'll be talking about that a little bit. As a matter of fact, I just happen to have some audio on that very thing. I've got, tonight, I have some audio from Jay Carney and his beard. I believe you teased that earlier on Facebook.
Yeah.
He's actually shaved his beard off.
I still think it's hair talking.
Well, it's got to be. It's kind of funny, really, because there's been some talk about here lately on how exactly you get to become an ambassador under the Obama administration. And Jon Stewart hit him last night, and man...
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny. Of course, he had to get his dig there at a Republican at the very end. He can't...
Well, at a conservative, because Sean Hannity says he's not a Republican.
Well, that's true. It was a conservative. And, you know, Stewart can't have an episode where he's taking his digs at the Democrats without taking a dig at a conservative, too. It's just not done. We've got some audio tonight from Ben Carson. Dr. Ben Carson. He was on Bill O'Reilly's show last night, and he's talking about government control and how they're gaining and maintaining this control that they have over us using the IRS and the Treasury Department.
The weaponization of government.
Yeah. Yep.
The new normal.
That is
I believe
the new normal.
I was talking about it today on our blog.
Yeah, I like the way you put that with the boiling of frogs, how it's a gradual...
Well, I can't take credit for that. I mean, lots of people have used that analogy, but I can't take credit for it because Bill Whittle said it.
Yeah.
I mean, his
Man, I love Bill
that
Whittle.
Afterburner episode. I mean, they're all good, but that one was just so spot on about what has happened to us as a country.
I've also got coming from, since we're talking about mainstream media and kicking them in the teeth, can't have that without having some MSNBC on the plate, from Chris Hayes, that little twerp, talking to somebody that calls himself a Reagan conservative, insisting that raising the minimum wage, the federal minimum wage, to $12 an hour is about the only way we're going to take some slack off the welfare rolls.
Right.
Yeah. And lastly, I've got some audio from Kirsten Powers, known progressive. She is one of Fox News' token progressives. And, man, she's just flat tired of having to defend her president.
Imagine that.
I would be, too. And my question would be...
So why do it?
Why would you feel led to defend him even when he's wrong? Just doesn't make much sense. Oh, I do have one other piece of audio tonight, and we're going to get to that right off the bat. I don't know if you guys have seen the commercial for Walmart where Mike Rowe is narrating through the whole thing. I think it played during the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. And look, this was Mike Rowe narrating the commercial. He didn't write it. He was narrating it, and he just happens to agree with it. He wouldn't have done the commercial if he didn't agree with what they were doing.
If it didn't go along with what he was doing. I mean, from what I'm seeing here, people are mad that Walmart has pledged to try to buy American goods.
$250 million, not just pledged to buy American goods, but they're throwing $250 million into manufacturing in America. You know, we used to be pretty good at that.
See, so that's bad. I mean, look, we're not cheerleaders for Walmart. Marty and I have never been. I mean,
they've got their fair share of
the thing is
missteps and mistakes and horrible policies.
One of the reasons why I've been so upset with Walmart in the last few years is because they haven't been buying American goods.
Been buying a whole bunch of Chinese goods.
Indonesian, Vietnamese, everybody but the United States. Now they have recommitted to buying American manufactured goods in a big way. $250 million is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's not.
And and they are what every retailer out there wants to be. They all want to be Walmart.
Yeah.
I've worked in the retail field, and I can tell you, nothing succeeds like success.
They're
and
the
all
benchmark
this kind of stuff
now.
So
for retail, anyway.
When the leader of the retail world steps up and says, hey, I'm going to try to lead the way back to buying American goods.
Somehow, though, that's a bad thing in these people's eyes.
Why
and
is
it's even, dude, they are jumping down. The day after this commercial aired, Mike Rowe caught hell.
Yeah, he did.
From all sides, man. They were bombarding his Facebook page and his email, calling him a traitor and you know, comparing what he's doing to treason almost. I mean, sending him some nasty responses.
So there's something wrong with American jobs?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's listen to the commercial first.
Okay.
And then I've got something from Mike Rowe on this.
At one time, I made things, and I took pride in the things I made. And my belts whirred, and my engines cranked. I opened my doors to all, and together we filled pallets and trucks. I was mighty. And then one day, the gears stopped turning. But I'm still here, and I believe I will rise again. We will build things, and build families, and build dreams. It's time to get back to what America does best. Because work is a beautiful thing.
That horrible, horrible man. Now, what you can't see is while he's narrating this, there's writing on the screen, you know, telling everybody that they're throwing this $250 million into American manufactured goods. And somehow or another, that has become offensive. Now, the day after, you know, this happened and he got bombarded with all that hate mail, he had responded. He put a big write-up there on Facebook.
Right.
And a lot of media outlets, you know, picked it up right away. And The Blaze ran with it. And it was one of their, I believe it was their lead story for a while. And, it, you know, he responded in kind, telling people, you know, gee, I'm so sorry that you feel so strongly about me narrating a commercial extolling the virtues of manufacturing in this country. So sorry about that. And I guess he thought that, well, that would be the end of it, that maybe his explanation would appease people.
But it didn't.
It didn't. This morning when I woke up and I made my way over to the computer and fired up the old Facebook, there was another Mike Rowe bulletin put up. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is what he wrote this morning. This whole Walmart thing, just wow. And if you're just now tuning in, here's the brief timeline. Last week I did the voiceover for a commercial that announced Walmart's commitment to purchase $250 billion, not million, $250 billion of American-made goods and put them onto their shelves. This Saturday the commercial ran during the Olympics and people started talking. Some of the talk wasn't very pretty. Sunday evening I opened a bottle of Whistle Pig and responded to a few of my detractors, and I attempted to clarify a few things. Well, by midnight, the Whistle Pig was badly depleted and I was very sleepy, so I hit post and went to bed. Several hours later, I woke up to use the bathroom. I glanced at this page and saw that over 1 million people had read your questions and my answers. Holy crap. The next morning, I awakened to the kind of chaos that simply wasn't possible before social media. No less than a dozen requests from various news outlets asking me to appear as soon as possible. Urgent messages to return calls from people I didn't know. Angry messages from certain acquaintances. Lots of encouragement from unexpected sources. And he lists all of those. And he says, this brings us to the present. 4,000 comments and counting. I've read them all. Thanks. And since you're still reading, allow me to free associate a bit further. I am not a spokesman for Walmart. I narrated a very specific commercial because I'm a fan of what Walmart's trying to accomplish with this particular initiative. In the interest of full disclosure, though, I really do shop there. In fact, for nearly 10 years, Walmart was my first stop whenever dirty jobs came to town. I typically don't pack a bag, so Walmart was the best place for affordable clothing that would most likely be badly abused and left behind in a smelly bathtub with a note apology and $20 for the maid. The Mike Rowe Works Foundation is in the business of partnering with any company that wants to see American manufacturing revitalized. If Walmart asks me to do more commercials like this, I will. Likewise for Ford or Chevy or Lowe's or Home Depot or George Soros or the Koch brothers or the Sultan of Brunei. I really don't care about where the investment is coming from, as long as it's getting the U.S. back to the business of making things, because there's simply nothing more important to the future of this country. It's a hell of a thing when someone you really don't like suddenly does something that you actually agree with. At base, I think that's what's happening here. A lot of people who are falling in love with hating Walmart are now wrestling with what the shrinks call cognitive dissonance. Regarding a $250 billion investment in American manufacturing, the choices are simple. A, continue to condemn them for whatever you like to condemn them for. B, offer support and encouragement. Or C, shoot the messenger. This whole dust-up is a small but instructive example of what's happening in our country today. Those who dislike the president struggle to give him credit when he does something they personally agree with. Those who support him hesitate to oppose him when they personally disagree. So it goes with Walmart. Watch the guy on CNN, that's Mark Lamont he's referring to. He simply can't address the importance of revitalizing our manufacturing base without reframing the whole conversation into a polemic against the thing he's been trained to despise. It's simply too hard for him to say, "Good for Walmart. I hope they succeed in this endeavor." Period. While he gives me the benefit of the doubt, he still believes I'm fundamentally wrong for supporting their initiative. Why? Because Mark doesn't see workers and employers as two sides of the same coin. He sees them as enemies. People are asking how the champion of the working man, their words, not mine, can support a big company like Walmart. This goes straight to the heart of the problem, because it's a question designed to incite a fight. We've become adept at putting people into boxes and assigning labels that reduce individuals to a single dimension. Thus, Democrats must behave like Democrats, Republicans like Republicans. It's expected. If you wander too far afield, you're labeled a sellout, a rhino, a scab, and so forth. If the champion of the working man fails to burst into a chorus of "look for the union label," the country's suddenly confused. They shouldn't be, because the truth is, I'm a big fan of the American worker. I'm just a bigger fan of America. Am I a sellout? You better believe it. That's the whole point. Every time I buy something or eat something that's made or grown elsewhere, I'm rewarding behavior I'd prefer to discourage. But like millions of other Americans, what can I do? This is the cost of the global economy. We brought it on ourselves by voting with our dollars. We narrowed our options, and now the choices are very, very skinny. But again, when big companies start reversing the trend by investing in American suppliers, we have a choice. We can congratulate them, or we can crucify them. Personally, I'm going to support the behavior I want to encourage. Man, I take my hat off to you, Mike Rowe. That is precisely what we've been saying on this show many times.
The only reason that Walmart has, why I, in the past have said nasty things about Walmart, is because they were buying so much stuff overseas and putting out of business American manufacturing and mom and pop businesses.
Yep.
Well, if they invest $250 billion,
God, that's a big number,
into the American economy, into American workers, how is that bad? That's Walmart taking an about face, as far as I'm concerned, and saying, "Oh, we hear your complaints."
And isn't that what we wanted all along?
So why is it wrong to say, you go Walmart. Kick some butt. Take some names. Get out there and support some American businesses. Good on you. What's wrong with that?
We've said that.
If Obama would actually do something that I approved of, I'd say, you go, Mr. President. Unfortunately, everything he's done has done nothing but hurt the United States.
Well, yeah. But, there have been, I seem to recall one or two occasions where the president did or said something that you and I, personally agreed with, and I can't recall them right off the bat.
All right, we got Bin Laden.
We did get Bin Laden, yeah, we did, and we applauded the man for that. When we have agreed with something coming, from the left, we have made it a point to say so on the air, just in the interest of fairness alone.
Well, when it comes to the issues like gay marriage,
yeah,
we think that for the most part, the left is right and the right is wrong. And probably not for the reasons that the left would like for us to be buying into that, but at the same time, we could say, okay, we can talk about that. We can agree on this.
But we shouldn't. I don't understand this jumping down Mike Rowe's throat on this issue and somehow labeling him as a traitor to the working man, when actually what he's doing is showing his approval for something that a company is doing in favor of the working man.
Here's an example of that cognitive dissonance. The other day I posted an article about Jeff Sessions. And it was a fairly positive article because he was talking, it was him, the letter that he was co-signing on immigration, and and how he thinks that that a bunch of his Republican colleagues are taking the wrong path. Okay, well, I agreed with that, with his stance on that. I don't agree with Jeff Sessions on the Farm Bill.
Right.
Okay, that was just a huge, gigantic piece of pork, and I wish he had spoken against it rather than for it. But on the immigration thing, I think he was spot on. Well, Tina shared that on Facebook, and somebody that's on her Facebook feed, what Jeff Sessions is wrong. Jeff Sessions is wrong, blah, 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 and I was like, well, where's he wrong on immigration? Well, he's right about that, the guy said, but, it was all about this guy doesn't think that Jeff Sessions has done enough for veterans. Says all he does is talk about, being a friend of veterans, and he's not really approved. The man's a one-trick pony. I realize he's a veteran, and veterans' issues are very important to him. But, Marty, you're a veteran.
Yeah.
But you talk about more stuff than the ill treatment that our veterans are getting. Look, we know it's bad.
Yeah. And when a veterans issue comes up, we do speak on it. But there's more important issues. You and I have friends that all they know how to speak about is gay marriage.
Yes.
That's all. It doesn't matter what anybody else does that's positive or not, or they're not doing enough on gay marriage. And let me tell you why.
Yeah. See, it gets that. You got the one-trick pony there. That's all that they, there's one single issue, and that's what they vote on. That's what they see. And the thing is, when you're dealing with politicians or corporations, doesn't really matter. You are dealing with people.
Yep.
I'm not right all the time. You're not right all the time. Sometimes when we're wrong, we're glaringly wrong. Okay?
Yeah.
That's called being human. And you can't expect perfection out of other people. It doesn't happen. Nobody's going to vote or run their company along lines that you or I or any other one single individual will completely approve of. It doesn't frickin' happen because we're all people. We're all human. We all screw up. And we all have our own minds. Okay? So what's going on here with this Walmart thing is people just have,
they're locked into the Walmart.
They're locked into Walmart bad.
Yeah.
Walmart bad. No matter what they do, Walmart's bad.
Even if they do something positive,
Yeah.
It's still Walmart, and them being Walmart nullifies their good deed.
Like the people that slammed Chick-fil-A.
Right.
You know, look, I saw when Chick-fil-A, during the last little cold snap and snowstorm that we had, Chick-fil-A was giving out free food to stranded motorists, and they were getting slammed for that.
I saw somebody even said, I bet they were checking to see if any of them were gay before they gave them a sandwich. You got to be kidding me, pal. Really?
Yeah, see, so no matter what, Chick-fil-A bad.
You know, it's like you and I get slammed all the time and are accused all the time of being Republicans.
Yeah.
And we have stated multiple times that we have never in our voting lifetime ever voted a straight ticket.
Even when I was a Democrat,
Yeah.
I didn't vote straight ticket Democrat.
Yeah. We are very anti-progressive. Yet, we have both voted for Democrats, even in the last election.
Yes, I did. I know.
I still voted for a couple of Democrats on there because they were the better candidate. They were actually, they may have been Democrats, and I may not agree with everything the Democrats stand for, but the person that I voted for was a more honorable and honest and straight, straight shooting person than the Republican candidate. Yet, I'm a staunch Republican somehow.
Yeah. See, we get that a lot. What we're trying to say here, folks, is don't paint yourself into a corner, into a single issue person. Don't do that to yourself, and don't let other people do that to you either.
Yeah. Well,
we should probably move on.
I was going to say, yeah, we've got a few more things we need to cover, so we'll move on.
But point to take away from that, Mike Rowe is a good man.
Mm-hmm.
And his, I don't know what his personal life is like. I have no clue. But when he starts talking about promoting American workers, he has my full support and Marty's full support.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of other one-trick ponies, we can't get off the air without letting Jay Carney and his beard speak tonight, because there's never been more of a one-trick pony than Jay Carney.
It's called lying. That's all he can do.
President right on everything, everybody else wrong.
Right.
But recently there's been some talk about how exactly you become an ambassador for the country or under the Obama administration. And it
has nothing to do with whether you've ever even been to that particular country or not.
I was watching that Jon Stewart thing, and he really drove it home good because he had the video there.
Yeah, I was mad at him
because
that was the approach I was going to take, tonight.
Yeah, he had the video there, and on the video you can see 3 people lining up to be ambassadors. They all get the same question: have you been to the country that you're about to be an ambassador to? No.
See, it's Norway, Argentina, Iceland.
And Iceland, yeah.
And
the one that for Russia, well, he's actually been going to Russia as Max Baucus, but see, he didn't get there the same way everybody else did. The last 3, the ambassador for Norway had donated, I believe, $500,000 to the Obama campaign. The Argentina ambassador had donated $800,000 and some change to the Obama campaign.
To the PACs.
Yeah, okay.
That were because you can't. There's a limit to how much you can give directly to the candidate.
True.
So let's be clear here. But they were giving money to OFA or whoever.
And the other one, he didn't give that much money personally, but he bundled.
He was a bundler.
$1.6 million. All of it going to further, to further the president's agenda and his candidacy. I find it's almost funny, man. It's almost funny if it weren't so sad.
Yeah, the thing is, there's a history of that's how you reward people who have been friendly to you in politics, is by, once you're president, you give them ambassadorships to some plum countries. And I'm not so sure that I don't know. Argentina's, it's a mostly socialist country, but it's a pretty cool place to go hang out. I mean, it's a rather amazing country, and really pretty down there, and they got really good beef and some awesome wine. But like Norway, it's a great place to be posted. Yeah, it's a little cold, but Norway is actually a classy country, and Iceland the same thing. You want to talk about some friendly people, very open-minded.
But we see how you get there.
Yeah, if you want to get posted there, you don't have to know anything about the country. You don't have to have ever even been there. Just, don't put a little bit of money in the right place, and boom,
but
there you are.
But now Jay Carney says that that's not the case, Casey. Jay Carney says that that's just not the case. Let's let the man speak for himself.
While the French flags are flying, why is it that the president still hasn't nominated a U.S. ambassador to France? I mean, that post has been vacant since November. I assume he knew long before that that the post was going to become vacant. Why have we not nominated, or why has he not nominated a U.S. ambassador to France?
I'm still being vetted. Scott?
No, I'm serious question. I mean, it's
when the president has a nomination for that post, we'll make an announcement.
Will it be somebody who has donated or bundled or helped raise $500,000 or more for the Obama campaign?
John, as you know, being a donor to the president's campaign does not guarantee you a job in the administration, but it does not prevent you from getting one. And the fact of the matter is the president has made nominations to ambassadorial posts and other posts from the ranks of the private sector, from government service, and has put in place qualified nominees across the board. So I don't have an answer for you on that particular nomination. When I do, we'll make it.
More than half of the political appointees he has made to ambassadorial posts gave more than, or bundled, helped raise more than $500,000 for his re-election campaign. Is that a coincidence?
Look, the president takes an approach where he finds qualified nominees for these posts from a variety of walks of life. And in that, he's not different from his predecessors. And what I can tell you that being a donor does not get you a job in this administration, nor does it preclude you from getting one. And I would note that some of our non-career foreign service ambassadors, like Ambassador Rifkin in France and Ambassador Roos in Japan, have been widely noted as enormously effective and successful in those jobs. Cheryl.
Thanks.
So, in other words, if they donate a lot of money, absolutely, that's not going to preclude them from getting the job, Casey.
No, it shouldn't stand in their way. Of course not. And of course, obviously it doesn't help them at all. I mean, they're talking about qualifications. So what qualified this guy to get Norway?
What qualified the guy to get Argentina? I mean, have you ever been there? And they're like, no. And if you listen to the whole thing, now, of course, Jon Stewart didn't play, their whole vetting there, but the guy that was posted to Norway, he knew virtually nothing about the country at all, man. At least the guy going to Argentina, while he may not have visited Argentina,
he at least spoke a little Spanish or something.
And, he knew a little bit about the country, about its history. He knew something, but the guy from Norway was just clueless. It made you want to say, how did you get this position, man? Why would you even ask for it? And in the chat, Lemire is talking about Max Baucus. He's no expert on China either. But see, Max Baucus,
Russia.
China. Wasn't he China?
No, I think he's Russia.
No, the guy for Russia is from California.
So's Baucus.
Oh, was he?
I think.
Well, anyway,
either way.
Max Baucus stepped down.
Because he didn't like the commute.
No, he stepped down from his job as a legislator.
Oh, yeah, to go. But, I mean...
So that it would make room for another Democrat to slide in there. And it is China. It's being confirmed in the chat. Baucus is the one going to China.
I think, but he's coming home now.
No, the guy from Russia is the one coming home. He is resigning his post because it's a 5,000-mile commute.
Oh, that's right.
He's been commuting from Russia all the way back to California.
So how much did he give that qualified him?
Yes, that I don't know.
Because it's like, what do you mean you're going to commute? The whole thing about being an ambassador is you go and live there. I thought.
That's what I thought.
I thought.
That's what I thought too. But apparently you can commute. Or I just, you know what, man, that type of foreign service, I know very little about myself. But I do think that it is not a coincidence that over half of the ambassadors in the Obama administration
have been bundlers or big...
Of $500,000 or more. Now, Jay Carney can gloss over it all he wants and say, the president has chosen qualified people. Yeah, he has a list of qualified applicants, and I assure you that each and every one are qualified.
Oh, well, that makes me feel better knowing that Jay Carney has given us the assurance because, that just makes it all better.
But there's still more that we've got to move on to now because the clock is a-ticking, and we've got a few more pieces that we need to get to. We were talking earlier about some of these, I don't want to call them phony conservatives. Ooh, it says our Skype is getting squirrely. Anyway, some of these, I don't want to call them phony conservatives, but I guess that's the only other.
Well, I tell you what, let's let everybody decide for themselves whether this guy's a phony or not.
Well, this is our piece from Chris Hayes, and he's talking to Ron Unz, who he's a journalist, and he calls himself a conservative, a Reagan conservative, and they're talking about this raising of the minimum wage. And, well, just listen.
People who work but can't afford to survive on their paychecks. If we raise the minimum wage to a reasonable level, all those costs will be cut, and the taxpayers will save money. I think it makes much more sense for businesses to pay their own workers rather than to shift the burden to the American taxpayer.
What's interesting is that we've seen a push over the years, it's almost a bipartisan push in policy to do precisely the opposite, which is basically to say, we're going to let the labor market be as it is, but we will come up with things like the earned income tax credit. We see the expansion of food stamps in order to keep people afloat at the bottom of the wage scale. You're saying that's the wrong approach.
Exactly. That's because I'm a conservative. The EITC and these other programs are essentially welfare programs. The idea is that you send checks to poor people to make them somewhat less poor. I think it makes much more sense for workers to get a reasonable paycheck so the taxpayer doesn't have to make up the difference. And what's really outrageous is that Marco Rubio and a number of other prominent Republicans are saying that the solution to America's poverty problem right now is more government welfare. That's not what the Republican Party advocated when I originally became a Republican under Ronald Reagan.
So are you getting any traction with fellow conservatives on this? Because what I've seen actually is, I think, some kind of consensus around the minimum wage, at least politically, if not ideologically, really disintegrate during this particular fight.
I think we're making a lot of progress. Take, for example, the most prominent conservative on TV, Bill O'Reilly. Just a couple of weeks ago, he endorsed the $10 an hour minimum wage that's proposed in Congress by the Democrats. Phyllis Schlafly, an iconic conservative figure, came out of a column saying exactly the same thing. We should raise the minimum wage so as to reduce social welfare spending. A prominent economic writer for National Review said exactly the same thing and endorsed the $12 an hour minimum wage that I'm proposing. A lot of the conservatives I've been talking to on talk radio and prominent figures in California, when the idea is explained to them in those terms, they suddenly see that it makes a lot of sense. So businesses should stand on their own 2 feet rather than forcing the taxpayer to make up the difference.
Look,
And he feels this way because he's a conservative, Casey. And Bill O'Reilly says that we should raise the minimum wage, and Phyllis Lafley says we should raise the minimum wage.
Well, if they ate a turd, would you go eat it too? Come on now.
How is this exactly going to reduce the amount of spending on social welfare programs? Man?
Well, I tell you what, when employers can't hire as many people, you're talking about shoving more people onto the public assistance. When you raise the minimum wage up to $10 an hour or $12 an hour, which is what people are really wanting to see done.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Well, and when
let's learn some basic economics. What happens when you make it more expensive for an employer to hire somebody? They don't freaking hire them.
Or what happens when an employer or when a manufacturer has to raise the cost of producing his goods?
Then the price of those goods goes up, which puts the price of goods and services up beyond what poor people can afford. So they're going to require more public assistance. The math is in a true conservative's favor. And Phyllis Schlafly and all those people can bite me because they're wrong.
And this is where Bill O'Reilly is dead wrong.
He is wrong. And this Mr. Oons,
We've seen it every time the minimum wage has been raised. So has the cost of living. It is exactly proportional.
Because the cost of you raise the cost of employing, and you raise the cost of goods and services. Period. So
and somehow or another, that's supposed to offset.
It drives inflation. The minimum wage should be abolished. You really want to do something for the country? Abolish the minimum wage. Get rid of it, or put it back down to $2 an hour or $3 an hour.
Yeah, you know, waiters, waitresses, bartenders, and things like that, they're still on that scale.
Yeah.
They still make about, $2 or $3 an hour and have to depend on tips. See, that minimum wage doesn't help them out at all. This whole minimum wage argument has been going on, since the 80s, like really strong. And every time they've raised it, every single time they've raised it, people have been put out of work.
Look, I saw this back in the 80s. When I first started in the working world, minimum wage was $3.35 an hour. They raised it, I think, to about $4 or $4.01, some really ridiculous number. And all the restaurants where I used to eat at the time, all their prices went up.
Yep. I've seen this meme going around for McDonald's, because they want McDonald's to raise their minimum wage to $15 an hour. And it's like, thank you for raising our minimum wage to $15 an hour. Here's your Happy Meal. That'll be $62.
Yeah, I mean, when people can't afford to eat out anymore because they can't afford that McDonald's hamburger because McDonald's had to raise its prices, somehow or another, the business people are supposed to just cut their own throats and just go out of. It makes people go out of business when you raise the minimum wage, but that just
but
shouldn't
we're not
matter.
Economists, Casey. We're not leading economists, so obviously we have no idea what we're talking about. Obviously,
apparently not, because we're in disagreement with some of those so-called conservatives out there. Like I said, they can all bite me because the math works in my favor on that.
Moving on, since we're talking about economics and math and numbers, we had this clean bill pushed through yesterday, Casey.
Oh yeah,
for raising our debt ceiling because we must pay our debts.
Yeah, because incurring more debt is so much better for us.
Ted Cruz was actually threatening to filibuster this proposal. This is a Republican proposal, I might add.
Yeah.
For getting this so-called clean bill, and the way they did it was by putting in this. You remember a while back, Paul Ryan and what's her name?
Patty Murray.
Patty Murray got together with their little bill that they got pushed through, where they had shafted the veterans and their retirement and their cost of living, increases and so forth. And somehow or another, we were supposed to just swallow that and say, well, okay, the veterans don't need any of their retirement, and they can afford to take a cut or two here and there. Well, the Republicans saw that, and they realized that they could be the first, instead of having the Democrats repeal that the Republicans could come in and look like they're compromising with the Democrats and raise the debt ceiling, and at the same time restore these benefits back to the veterans.
Well, you know, I want the veterans to get their benefits back.
Well, I think everybody
But
did.
I think there's probably going to be some veterans out there that are going to say, but wait a minute, is this the way I wanted to get my benefits back, by putting my children and grandchildren into debt?
Yeah, this is how our legislators work these days. The Republicans couldn't just put forth a bill to restore, the benefits back to what they were for the veterans. They couldn't do just that. They also had to get this debt ceiling increase in there somehow in order to appease the president as if they're going to get something else out of this in return. Now, Harry Reid is just glowing over this. Listen to old Harry this morning.
It's encouraging that some of my Republican colleagues seem to be regaining their grip on sanity this week. Republicans have shown a willingness to compromise to restore veterans' hard-earned pensions. A few reasonable House Republicans were willing to join Democrats to avert a catastrophic default on our nation's obligations. A default that would have thrown our economy into a tailspin and damaged this nation's standing in the world. I commend Speaker Boehner for doing the right thing. He voted for this and got enough Republican votes to get it done.
Yeah, I just bet you do. I just bet you do pat old Boehner on the back for this one. Because, after all, we didn't want to put our economy in a downward spiral by a catastrophic default on any of our debts. And by the way, you guys, the Democrats in the Senate incurred,
or restoring these benefits to our veterans, which the Democrats and their Republican cronies took away in the first place. So how are we all supposed to be really, really grateful for you, or grateful to you for screwing us over? And then, you know what? The back of my neck is wet. Somebody just peed on it and tried to tell me it was raining.
That's exactly what they're doing here, man. They try so hard to convince us that they're doing the right things by us while they're cutting our throats at the same time, as if we're supposed to thank them.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to happen. Not on the honest answer. No. Because that's what we're all about here, folks. This is the honest answer. You just got your neck peed on. Mm-hmm. Even you veterans. You just got your neck peed on, folks.
And look, I'm sure that the vets are happy that their pensions are getting back to what they're supposed to be. But at the same time, I really don't think they're going to thank anybody, like you said, for putting their grandchildren further in debt. I believe now we're up to what? Each person in the country now owes about 75, 80 grand now, thanks to all these debt ceiling increases. Our legislators are spending, I hate to sound so cliche, but they're spending like a bunch of drunken sailors. And they're shoving all this pork into each of these bills. They can't do this line by line. Which, you remember, there was a while there that the Republicans were wanting to do that. That they were actually wanting to do this a piece at a time. And it made the Democrats' head just spin around.
Right.
But it saved us money by doing that so that the American people could actually see what was being voted on.
And obviously, spending only what we take in, it's only spending money we actually have is just right out of the question.
Well, they knew that most of the Republicans, I'll say this, they knew that the conservatives in the Republican Party would not agree to an across-the-board debt ceiling increase. But at the same time, they also knew that no Republican that was going to be up for re-election this time would want to be the Republican that voted against restoring the veterans' pensions. They knew the only way that this bill would be pushed through is by putting that little piece in there for the veterans. Nobody wanted to be known as the guy that refused to restore the pensions to and they, believe me, the Democrats would have hammered every Republican that voted against that by saying they hate the veterans. They refuse to restore these veterans. Look what he did. He wouldn't vote for the veterans. A vote against the debt ceiling is a vote against veterans.
Well,
that's about as shiesty as it goes.
I'm sorry, man. My neck is still wet, and the back of my shirt smells like pee.
I got a couple of more pieces of audio here tonight before we go. We got about 9 minutes left. Ben Carson was on Bill O'Reilly, and I just love Ben Carson. He tells it like it is. He doesn't pull punches, and he's not afraid to challenge the president.
No matter how many times he's audited.
That's what I was going to get to. However,
it's cost him.
Speaking out against the president is not going to do you any favors as far as the IRS goes or the Treasury Department, especially when, like the way you put it, they are weaponized. They're using the government as a weapon. Listen to Dr. Carson.
Well, there are a couple of things that I'm worried about. I'm worried about the fact that the populace is being silent and is not expressing what they believe because they're afraid. They've been intimidated.
By whom?
By the government.
How?
By the government and by the media, by the PC police. You say something, all of a sudden, like, this is a perfect example. You know, you're using an example of how people would not speak up. They try to turn the argument away from that because they know it's true. They know what I'm saying is true. But rather than talk about that, they want to divert the issue to something else. You couple that with the fact that our Congress needs to be a little more courageous, because the reason we have a divided government, if one branch of the government gets a little bit over exuberant, they need to rein them in. We need courage there in order to do that.
All right, but politicians encourage, I mean, we're not seeing all, you know, that's, you know. But look, the last time you were on this, well, maybe not the last time, but one in the fall, you said, look, that you were bothered by the IRS to an extent that you felt they were trying to intimidate you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think it is coincidental.
All right, so that's the government agency that you can point to in your life, Dr. Carson's life, that you believe was put upon you to shut you up.
And it's not just me. We have a fact that we now have a government that is trying to take over the health care of the populace. And in charge of the agency or overseeing it is the IRS. Now, why would you put the IRS, which is under investigation already for inappropriate behavior, over something so massive and that affects so many of our lives?
Well, they're the enforcement agency of fines. They because it was ruled a tax by the Supreme Court, foolishly. And so somebody has to enforce the taxation element, and that's the IRS. So on paper it makes sense. But you heard the President of the United States tell me, your humble correspondent, there's not a smidgen of corruption in the IRS. You heard that.
Right, we heard that. And that to me is, it strains credulity to believe that he actually believes that. But that we let people get away with it. This is what bothers me. The fact that the Congress doesn't stand up and say, no, you may not implement this program because a major portion of it is still under investigation. And we are not done with that. We don't do that in regular life. We don't take somebody who's under suspicion and put them in charge of something major like that. We have to just start doing things that are logical and that make sense again.
I love Dr. Carson. And when he says, no, I don't think this is a coincidence, man, he'd never been audited. You know, it's like last week we were talking about the woman and her husband who had the manufacturing. Yeah. You know, 20 years, no audit. But you try to
form a 501c4 and
you try to start a 501c4 that is for a conservative cause or related to the Tea Party in some way.
And boom,
Dr. Carson he really had no involvement with the IRS really until, remember, he spoke at that prayer breakfast.
Yep.
And started calling it like it was. And you know, he's right. There is a huge lack of courage in
as a matter
Congress
of fact,
right now.
That's what I was blogging about this morning, was the weaponization of government is the new normal.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, well, you know, what do you expect out of the IRS? What do you expect out of the FBI and the ATF? And what?
I don't expect them to investigate the American citizens as some type of payback. You know, and retribution for them speaking out.
Yeah, we're supposed to have freedom of speech in this country, freedom of thought, freedom of association.
And you still have that freedom. It's just going to come at a higher cost now. You can say whatever you want, but don't think you're going to get away with it.
Because the IRS will be right there to back up whoever's in power. See, the thing is...
It almost makes me glad that we're broke.
Well, yeah. But, you know, if this were a Republican administration going after people like that,
the media
would be screaming. But now there's no scandal with the IRS. That's no scandal.
Well, see, he puts Dr. Carson makes the media just as complicit as the government in this, because they're just as guilty as the government themselves as far as going after these people in retribution. If a conservative, like take Ted Cruz for example, if Ted Cruz were a Democrat and he had been speaking this loudly during the Bush administration against President Bush, he would be lauded and hailed and praised. He would have been immortalized in stone by now. But because he's a Republican, because he's going against President Obama.
Well, look at the lionization of Woodward and Bernstein after Watergate.
Oh,
because
yeah.
President Nixon was a Republican. Now, yeah, he was dirty. Yes, he was. But look at that, made their career.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when Woodward started speaking out against President Obama,
or when Matt Drudge exposed, Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, Matt Drudge is evil. He's bad.
Oh yeah, because he spoke out against the Democrats.
And you mentioned Matt Drudge's name on MSNBC or CNN or whatever, and Matt Drudge,
eye roll.
Michelle Malkin. See what kind of traction she gets from CNN or MSNBC or ABC or NBC or CBS. They can't stand her because she speaks out as a conservative.
And it seems to me that, like some of the people that we've mentioned, they seem to be in a very small group of people who actually have courage these days. Because it does take a certain amount of courage to speak out against anyone in the Obama administration these days, or you will face retribution. Even in the halls of Congress, Republicans are scared to open their mouth these days because they're afraid they're going to be lumped into the same category as Ted Cruz or Sarah Palin or Mike Lee or Trey Gowdy. They don't want to be viewed as a quote-unquote troublemaker, when in reality all they're doing is voicing the opinion of the American people. I saw on the Blaze today, Glenn Beck, he went off this morning on his radio show.
Yeah, I saw that.
About Obamacare and how, 4 or 5
we
years
were
ago,
all right.
Yeah, the American people were screaming, no, this is going to be a catastrophe. Small business owners were screaming, this is going to hurt my business. I'm not going to be able to employ new people. I may have to shut down my business as a result. Nancy Pelosi just scoffed at him. No, that's not true. It's going to add 4 million jobs at least to the economy.
Then the CBO report comes out this year
with the reality of it,
saying no, it's actually going to cost about 2.5 million.
Yeah,
by 2024,
which is exactly what we were screaming to begin with. The president swore you'll be able to keep your doctor, you'll be able to keep your insurance if you like it. But even when he said it, conservatives were saying, no, that's not true. Have you read the bill? Of course you haven't read the bill. Nancy Pelosi said we got to pass it before we'll know what's in it.
And the thing is it wasn't just conservatives. It wasn't just people like me and you that have this internet platform so we can, say these things. It was everybody, man. Yeah. It was everybody that's a normal person that we talked to, that owned a business or was actually close to a business owner, was saying, oh, Lord, this is going to be a train wreck for us. This is really going to hurt us.
And even now, in the face of the evidence, in the face of unequivocal evidence,
they're still, like I said,
they're denying it.
If you smell pee, it's because somebody was peeing on your neck this whole time.
They really and truly want everyone to believe that the American people are too stupid to understand what they're doing to us. But we're not. We're not that stupid. We can see the writing on the wall. It's very clear. It's plain as the nose on your face.
Well, Rush Limbaugh made a prediction, which has been labeled as bold, that the 2014 elections are going to be a sweep election like 2010 was. Where Democrats,
I wish I could believe that.
I do too. It sounds great, Rush, and I really hope so. But I still have my doubts because there are still some stupid people out there who think that since I got insurance, since my insurance got subsidized by the rest of the tax-paying public, Obamacare is great. Well, when the socialists run out of other people's money, you're not going to be saying that. When you go to make an appointment at your doctor, yes, you've got insurance. You've got some insurance. You can finally go to the doctor. But you may have to stand in line and wait for a few months.
But it's getting harder and harder for some of these staunch Democrats and progressives to defend some of these things. They're running out of steam. I think that's where Rush is getting his prediction from, is because there are some Democrats, staunch Democrats, who are they're running out of ways to defend this crap. Here's one of the biggest.
Something like this.
So what about his explanation today and how that played?
Well, I think his explanation is probably the true explanation that they need to do this, but at the same time, it's now gotten to the point where it seems like there's an exemption made for pretty much everybody except for individuals, a lot of people who have really been sort of screwed over by this law, who are left, some people without insurance or with extremely expensive insurance. So, I think that Ron Fournier of National Journal wrote something that ran today about,
This was after he expressed himself last night on the panel.
Yeah, so the headline was, why I'm getting tired of defending Obamacare. And, I'm going to say amen, brother, because it's exactly how I feel. People who have supported this law, who support universal health care, are constantly put in a position of having to defend this president who has really incompetently put this together, rolled it out, and that's why he has to do this. That's why he has to keep doing this, because it's not working.
Yeah.
And now, see, yet again, people are conflating universal health care with universal health coverage by an insurance company.
Right.
We're not going to address bringing the cost of health care down. We're not going to address the free market at all.
No.
When it comes into this. We're not going to talk about tort reform.
No,
Democrats absolutely cannot conceive of talking about tort reform.
They laugh at that very idea.
The thought of bringing down the cost of health care, period,
or the cost of medication,
through the application of free market principles, not government controls over the cost of prescription meds, but how about getting the government out of the way? They can't discuss that at all.
Oh, no.
But see, universal health care and universal insurance are now, in the Democrat mind, they keep conflating those two things, and they're not the same thing.
But they are under the impression that regular people like you and I are not capable of seeing the difference. See, that's what they're counting on. But yet, like Kirsten said, they're being constantly put in a position to where they're having to defend this stuff.
Well, see, I got news from Ms. Powers.
If it was right and correct, if it was if their notions were in any way the right thing to do, there would be nothing to defend.
See, that's my point. See, Ms. Powers, I love you. But there is no way to implement socialized medicine and have it work out as a good thing. There is no way that it can be done.
There's no country that's tried it yet that's succeeded.
There is no way. People talk about, in Iceland and stuff. No. See, those people don't spend near the money that we do here in the United States because, right.
That's why Canadians
the countries that have
America.
Universal coverage. Okay, one reason why it's working in those countries, like there's only a few, man. Iceland and Switzerland are two that come to mind. The only reason why it's working in there is because their health care isn't as expensive as ours to begin with. America has been the leader in innovation. People don't go to Canada to get special surgeries done.
Or special cancer treatments.
When a world leader has an injury that sports medicine can address, they don't go to Canada or Great Britain to get fixed up. They come to Health South here in the United States.
Or when there's a very complex heart surgery to be done, they don't go to Cuba
or France
or even to England.
No, they come to the United States to get it done. When somebody has a really complicated cancer, they don't feel better that NHS is going to take care of them in Great Britain because their cancer survival rates over there are sucky.
They're abysmal, man.
So there's a reason why medicine in the United States is a little more expensive than it is elsewhere in the world. It's because we've done the innovation.
Yeah.
And innovation costs. But it's better. The buck that you spend here extends your life. You want to talk about, let's talk about the life expectancy of the average man in the Soviet Union. It's 60.
Yeah.
It's 60, folks.
Where here it's what?
80.
Yeah, 80. There you go.
Okay. There's a lot of alcoholism in Russia that's affecting their that bottom line there. Well, despair drives alcoholism.
Well.
And there's a lot of despair in Russia because their options, if you're a Russian citizen, your options are limited. And here in the United States, here's these progressives out here, that's what they want for you. They want your options to be that limited too. They want to tell you, they cannot help themselves from trying to tell you how to live your life. And at the same time, they sit there and talk out the other side of their mouth about being pro-choice.
Yeah. Where's the choice, man? Where's the choice?
Sorry, Kirsten. Like I said, I love the woman. She is a fellow Christian, and I love her.
But if you were right, there would be nothing to defend.
Yeah. If there was a way to implement Obamacare so that it would actually work and create jobs and not, that would have been done. And there is no way.
Instead of defending it, you would be touting it.
Yeah. So,
well, dude, we are at the end of the road. Like again, once again, we somehow managed to go over just a few. That tends to happen when we get a little bit wound up. But just real quick, don't forget little yellow donate button down there at the bottom of the page. If you like the honest answer, you want to keep us going, and you feel like contributing to us, just
please do, because our cost of putting this broadcast out just went up this month, and up by a substantial amount.
Also, don't forget, another way of helping us out, go over there to the sponsors page. Check out some of our sponsors. We've got LifeLock.com, Bacon Freak, My Food Storage, Jelly Belly,
V2SIGs.com,
all high quality products and
that
services.
will give you a deal if you go to them through our sponsors page.
Don't forget to look over there on our channels page, because it's not just Honest Answer Radio that you can get. There's Sports World Radio. There's Challenge from the Heart with Pastor Rick, which I think all of us can do with. Also, another good friend of the show, GoingBeyondRadio.com. They don't just carry Honest Answer Radio. They've got programming for just about all of your listening needs. That being said, this is Thursday, which means we won't be back again until Tuesday. So, in the meantime, if it's not too much trouble, please be good to each other, just for a little while, please. And with that, Case, you got anything else?
Not just a big old good night, y'all.
All right, y'all. We'll see you Tuesday. Be good.